good morning or good afternoon or good whatever time of night or day you're watching this. I decided that we should do a get ready. I'm gonna put on makeup and then also tell you guys your solar eclipse horoscopes, extremely in-depth on Patreon, that you can purchase individually now without having to get a subscription for. So if you want to read the full post on Patreon, which is extremely in-depth and thorough and covers both eclipses for you and like the whole theme of eclipse season for you based on your rising sign, check it out. And yes, I just said check it out. A sneak peek of the post on Patreon. Aries risings, you will have the solar eclipse in Libra in your 7th house, squaring Mars from your 4th house. Okay, so for Aries risings, I said it's better to be completely alone than to constantly surround yourself with people that you have to shrink yourself to be palatable for. I feel like you're going to be asserting boundaries in a completely new way, specifically around displeasing family or reprioritizing which relationships are truly worth your while, worth your energy. Let me start my makeup process, by the way. Also, you're going to think that the way that I apply my makeup is really strange, so don't judge me. You will probably judge me. I need like a mirror. This is too far away. I'm blind. I can't see anything. So the square to your 4th house could also indicate that like you're having an issue with a family member, like they want you to do a certain thing or be a certain way, and you're having to assert a boundary with them in order to reprioritize ultimately who you want to be more around or who you want to be more focused around, like preserving your energy and your time. You could be finding out that it is time to declutter who you have contact with or who has access to you, and I think you're learning that like you can love your family members and not feel so obligated to them to the point that you feel like you're disrespecting yourself. However, I don't think the focus is so much on family as much as there is tension probably within your home dynamics or like reshaping who and what is your sense of security during this time. I think it's mainly focused on like your interactions with people more specifically. So you could find yourself asserting new boundaries or like asserting your needs more clearly or thoroughly with family members. But I also think that you're just reshaping how you assert how you talk to anyone and ultimately who you feel is worth your time or worth explaining yourself to versus like who you don't feel is worth your time or worth explaining yourself to. And then for Taurus risings, I said if you don't listen to your body will make sure to scream. Taurus risings, solar eclipse in Libra in your 6th house, squaring Mars from your 3rd house. Honestly, I feel like you're constantly on the go lately, and I don't know if you're necessarily taking care of your body as well as you should, in sense of like you haven't been sleeping enough, or maybe you haven't been prioritizing. I know I told you I play my makeup really weird. You haven't been prioritizing your daily routine, like you've been kind of neglecting yourself in order to maintain certain habits or routines. So ultimately, this could be you having to reshape both your daily routine but also your physical wellness habit, because if you have been neglecting them or you have been like putting your needs off in order to like be the best employee or be the best friend, or maybe you've just been like sucked into social media lately and it's been like almost at a detriment to your mental health. So you could be reshaping your relationship with who you follow online, what content you consume online, but also like how it's necessarily healthy for you versus whether or not it is or isn't, kind of thing. I just really want to blend this in before I go to the next zodiac sign because I feel like I'm just looking crazy. Also, I believe on Twitter I made a dramatic post saying that if you ignore your body long enough, it's going to start screaming at you. And I don't mean it as dramatically as I'm probably making it sound, but I do think it's important to keep in mind that if you're not careful or if you continue to neglect your health and your well-being, your body will be mad at you. Point blank period. Reprioritizing your routines, your way that you're going about your day, and like genuinely asking if it's benefiting you or if it's helping you or if it's hurting you will be ultimately the biggest question right now. And also like if you're trying to keep up appearances with people and like you're neglecting yourself in order to do so, this could be like you questioning if those are the right people for you to be around in the first place. So for Gemini risings, I said you can love things and people without draining yourself out completely to prove your devotion to them. And then the more in-depth expansion of that, granted the most in-depth expansion of that is on my Patreon, but to expand on that a little bit more, I'm just bouncing between apps, sorry. So the solar eclipse in Libra is in your 5th house, squaring Mars from your 2nd house. And So it's interesting because the 5th house is like fertility, love, romance, relationships in astrology, but it's also your art, your passions, your hobbies. The square is, yeah, your 2nd house, which is your money, like what is in your bank account currently, as well as who you invest the most energy towards relationship wise. So for some of you, you could just be feeling like the relationship that you're in, you're no longer compatible, or you're no longer vibing the way that you used to. You could also be feeling like things that you used to love or hobbies that you used to really care about have just no longer been hitting the way they used to. Like maybe you used to love to like paint or write, and like lately it's just falling flat. You don't feel like that much joy from it. I don't know if you guys wanted me to like tell you what products I'm using, but I can like go over everything I use at the end. However, this is Laura Mercier. I actually bought this when this is gross. You guys are gonna judge me. That's fine. But I got this Laura Mercier loose powder to set my cream makeup for my wedding. When was my wedding? Oh, October 2022. What year are we in? September 2024. Listen, there's still product in there. It's still working. I don't know. I understand that makeup expires, but anyways, take that how you will. So Gemini risings, yeah, so long story short, sorry, I just got distracted. You could also be having to separate your money from your relationships, or feel like maybe your hobbies have been so financially taxing on you or emotionally taxing on you that you no longer feel the joy for them that you used to feel. Ooh, got me getting makeup on my camera. So this could be you needing to reevaluate if the thing or person that you love is ultimately stressing you out or draining you in some way, and if it's time to change where you're putting your energy altogether. And also specifically, maybe there is a separation around money and who you love or what you love, because it's beginning to get a bit too much. Now for Cancer risings, I said on Twitter, I said you don't need to respect family members just because you share blood with them if respecting them means directly disrespecting yourself in the process. And then to expand on that, you will have the solar eclipse in Libra in your 4th house, squaring Mars from your 1st house. So the major disruption or event that will take place with the solar eclipse is that it will be in your 4th house of home, nurturing, and family. And because there's a square to the ascendant, it's almost like people are really set on willfully misunderstanding. Chugging my coffee too fast. Willfully set on misunderstanding you, willfully set on putting their own narrative or words into your mouth over like what necessarily is the truth. And you could feel very, I know I just said this, but you could feel very misrepresented, and ultimately just feel like, I don't know, re-evaluating who has your back and who doesn't based on like how people are treating you. Basically, you might be doing something lately that your family doesn't want you to do, and maybe it's nothing harmful to anyone or yourself, but they're just like, they have a lot of input, and I think you're trying to break away from like how to maintain relationships with family members that directly disrespect you or like don't benefit you, versus like how to have authentic relationships with yourself and family. So you're just reevaluating who has access to you, and I think you're also just like learning that you don't need to be in spaces with people just because you feel obligated to them. And I also tweeted this, so if you already saw this on Twitter, you're gonna be like, look, you're a broken record. But just because you feel obligated to someone doesn't mean you necessarily feel committed to them. So it's important to kind of also question if you feel loyal to your family, or if you just feel like stuck having to keep up appearances. Yeah, so you could be breaking away from family dynamics ultimately. But I also think it's going to be something that also benefits and inherently serves you, whether there is tension around having to initially break out news to people. Leo risings, I wrote, sometimes it's more important to protect your peace than to argue with people online who are going out of their way to willfully misunderstand you. You will have the solar eclipse in your 3rd house, squaring Mars from your 12th house. So this one's particularly interesting, or here's some tea on this, is that the 3rd house is like social media and the 12th house is like hidden enemies. So you could have a situation where like certain people online are just like weird or funky, and honestly, it's okay to utilize the block button. It's okay to delete comments. It's okay to utilize the block button. Like, if people are on your social media, like, you're allowed to control your social media, like, point blank period. Like, so I feel like this could be you having to change who you follow, what you follow, who you're friends with online. There could be kind of like a situation where you're honestly learning who are truly your friends versus who are just like kind of there to watch you and keep tabs on you, which is like obviously not the most fun thing to experience, but I also feel like it could be very meaningful and helpful for you. because like, why waste your time around certain people? Why let certain people have access to you online if you don't feel like they're beneficial for you in any certain way? I'm just using a bronzer for the outer part because I don't really want anything super dark on the, what do you call it? What is it? I just want a lighter makeup look, although I think that ended up looking kind of dark. Also, for people who are not chronically online like me and just don't relate to that, you could be also having a situation where maybe you need to fix something on your car. Maybe you're reevaluating who you communicate with. Maybe you're starting a boundary with a sibling. Maybe you're learning that someone in your family is a little bit shady. Those are all themes that could be happening during this time. But also with the square to the 12th house too, this could also just mean like you're really busy this solar eclipse and you just want to rest. You just want to bed rot and you feel like you can't. So that could also be very, very relevant. Okay, so Virgo risings. Are the things that you pour your energy, money, and devotion into equally pouring back into you, or do you find yourself coming up empty-handed and drained? So Virgo risings, you have the solar eclipse in your 2nd house squaring Mars in your 11th house. So tension specifically around your money and your friends. Maybe they feel overly obligated to, or like they have the right to have access to your finances, even though you know that's not the case. You have a friend that you always like have empathy for, that you always want to help out, but they're always in a crisis. So it's just very emotionally, if not financially draining as well for you. In a situation where you learned your a certain friend has different political beliefs or moral beliefs than you, so you're like separating yourself from them during this time. Specifically because 11th house does mean social media and friendships, but it also means activism, like what you stand for. I feel like certain people are just like not in line with you as you originally thought they would be. But also the main point with this transit is specifically like you reshaping your finances and your emotional attachments to people and things. So like you could also be like, dang, I spend way too much on certain things. I need to change my budget or my spending habits. That could be just as relevant during this time. I actually got my makeup done already. I know this is kind of like a bare look, but I am just feeling minimal today. And now I'm just doing my hair. Show you all the products that I used for my makeup. I used this Tarte Shape Tape Concealer, Fair Light Neutral, Halo Glow Beauty Wand Contour, the Tan Halo Glow Highlight. The blush was also e.l.f. Halo Glow Blush. This is Pink Me Up, Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer. I've been using this literally for over a decade. We already talked about the Laura Mercier translucent powder. I don't know. This lipstick, Peach Bud Satin Lipstick from Anastasia Beverly Hills. It looks like this. It's kind of like a gloss, like as you can tell. The 2 lip liners that I use. This is one of them, ColourPop Oh Snap, super old. By Mario, Rich Mauve. The mascara, I used Pat McGrath Dark Star Mascara because I heard that Taylor Swift uses it. I think that's everything. I put some brown eyeshadow on the ends of my, to pretend to look like eyeliner, but it was really just eyeshadow. These 2 eyeshadow palettes are super old. I don't even want to show you. Color Boss Squad Il Maquillage, I don't know. And then this one's Feeling Toasty. That's a choice to show the internet. Okay, so for Libra risings, on the free horoscope section on Twitter, I said you're allowed to evolve and move away from versions of yourself that you no longer wish to be. A part of growing up and growing into yourself is acknowledging growth. It doesn't come from remaining the same. And then on the more in-depth version, mind you, I'm not actually showing you the paragraph I wrote about it because that part is under a paywall, so you can support me, so I can buy new makeup because it's old. No, I'm just kidding. But it says solar eclipse in Libra in your 1st house squaring Mars from your 10th house. So I think you're asserting a new boundary around your identity and what you want, but you're also perhaps reshaping or having some kind of tension around work. So this could even be like you having to assert a boundary or assert your dominance in a situation where people kind of are, I don't know, there could be pushback around your reputation. And I feel like this is kind of like your Taylor Swift reputation era. No, sorry. I do this every single time there's a horoscope and someone has a 10th house placement. I do feel like you're gonna have to stand in your own truth, even if it feels like people are quick to willfully misunderstand you. There could be some kind of tension at work that gets alleviated or cleared up, but it might have to be through you asserting a boundary or you setting a record straight. So it could be a little bit uneasy, especially if you're not a confrontational person. But this could also lead to you feeling more on the same page with both your work life, but also with your boundaries and with what aligns with you and what doesn't. So like this could be you having to talk to a coworker about something that you're not comfortable with that they keep doing, or I don't know, things in that area. It could also even be you contemplating a new job path. Now, granted, this is more in your first house than your 10th house, so I don't want to make you think it's like mainly 10th house themes, because it's more in your first house. So what that means is there's going to be more themes around how you assert yourself, how you're seen, and how people view you. And it could feel like people are very quick to put labels on you or like willfully misunderstand you during the solar eclipse, but it's also more important that you understand yourself during the solar eclipse. When people are saying something to you that feels like you want to be knee-jerk reactive, I would caution you to take a step back and just like evaluate it and absorb it before you respond, because some of these people might not even be that important in several years from now. That could be also a thing. Also, because this is on your first house, I would caution you against any kind of beauty modifications during the solar eclipse. So please avoid random impulsive tattoos, changing your hair, cosmetic procedures, things like that, until at least I'd say, to be safe, November. So just like, you know, hold off in October. Scorpio risings. Just because someone is fanatical or loud about their opinion doesn't necessarily mean that they're right. Solar eclipse is in your 12th house, squaring Mars in your 9th house. So 12th house is hidden enemies, illness, and subconscious belief, as well as rest. And 9th house is religion, spirituality, travel, education. I feel like this is saying that stick with your gut, even if a popular opinion is very loud, it might not be very right. So like if people are being very like soapboxy today, like stepping on their platforms, making big opinions, which is very common with eclipse season, I would say to like take a pause before you jump in, because you might be very like quick to want to back or have an opinion about something or have a certain side about something, but you might not be hearing the full truth right now. So I would say to just like absorb it and like not dive in head first to a situation that you might not actually know that much about. Because this is the 12th house, you could be deciding that maybe a certain religion or belief system that you previously adopted was not that healthy for you. Maybe you're not feeling that great lately, physically or mentally, and this could be a time for you to prioritize your mental health more and up your self-care more. You could also be contemplating moving too. This is also, I'm not saying that just because it's in the 12th house you're going to have some kind of a hidden enemy situation, but you could be more inclined to notice that, like, people's intentions and where they stand, and also whether or not they align with you. I'm just going to fix my bangs really fast, and then we will move on to Sagittarius risings. Because what are my bangs doing right now? Sagittarius rising one says sometimes the people you consider a friend don't necessarily consider you one. The solar eclipse is in your 11th house, squaring Mars from your 8th house. The 11th house meaning your friendships, your activism, but your 8th house is your debt and other people's money and other people's emotional attachment to you. So what you're learning during this eclipse is like where people stand with you, and ultimately like how they feel about you, whether they're truly that committed or invested in their friendship with you based on their actions. And also just like people's understanding of you. Ultimately, not everyone is going to be your biggest fan, and I feel like you're going to find that out very clearly during this time. But however, the positive takeaway from this is that you are going to find out like who your true friendships are. I also think there's going to be a huge need to separate relationships and money during this time, because there could be a situation where it gets a mesh and it could get messy, like whether someone's trying to tell you that you owe them money or your friend owes you money. It could be like just something that's like uncomfortable, like maybe you live with your roommate slash best friend and then there's like financial conversations that need to occur. This could also most likely be like you having to pay off a debt or a bill, an unexpected bill coming in the mail. Like those could also be very on brand, because the 8th house is like IRS, credit cards, all the fun stuff. Capricorn risings, if you're holding yourself back from your dream, oh, why did my computer just turn off? Because computer. If you're holding yourself back from your dreams or aspirations because you are worried your relationships can't support you, you are surrounded by the wrong people. Capricorn risings, the solar eclipse will be in your 10th house, squaring Mars from your 7th house. So I feel like you're gonna see who supports you when like you get a promotional opportunity, or you get a raise, or you get some kind of situation presented to you at work where maybe you're going up in the company, or people are recognizing you for your efforts. You're gonna see who claps the loudest and who doesn't clap at all. Maybe you post something online about like a new job opportunity coming to light, and like you have like really close friends who are like viewing this story but not hearting it. You know, like just situations like that could occur. And I also feel like this is an interesting time because there could be something at work, like a major shift or transition at work. Maybe you were let go, maybe you were promoted. It could literally go either way. And you're going to see how people ultimately, like, who you can fall back on as a support system during this time and who you can't. However, I feel like this is a good thing, because don't you want to know who your real friends are, you know? So it's like, yeah, it doesn't sound like the best time, but I don't feel like it's the worst time. That's just my opinion about it. Aquarius risings, the thread says, it's better to be teachable than to be the person who refuses to hear anything outside of their own ideas. So you have the solar eclipse in your 9th house. Before I even went to your the part that breaks down which house it's in, I knew it was in your 9th house by how I wrote that. But solar eclipse in Libra, your 9th house is squaring Mars from your 6th house. So this could be a disruption in your belief system not being aligned with your daily routines and habits. You could have a major disruption around your belief system no longer supporting you in a way that boosts or conditions your physical well-being or your mental well-being. It's basically like your belief system could be compromising your health, kind of. So you have to restructure your philosophy, or maybe even your physical environment. This could be like you moving, but ultimately disrupting something that you're committed to believing, or philosophy that you have, in order to reshape your routine to better support your overall well-being. That's basically how I see this. And also, I think the issue with this is that you could want to be inflexible. You could want to not change your belief system. You could want to stay with certain philosophy that you have. However, that will not benefit you at all. So I think staying flexible will be the saving grace under this transit. And then Pisces, there's a reason why airplanes tell you to make sure to put your life jacket on before you try to assist others with theirs. So Pisces risings, you have the solar eclipse in Libra in your 8th house, squaring Mars from your 5th house. So basically the 8th house is other people's emotional attachment and money investment in you, but it's also like your debt, your credit cards accumulating, your business contracts. Could also pertain to themes like death and occultism. But the 5th house is what you're passionate about, what inspires you. For some people, this could manifest as like you just feeling like you can't afford yourself lately. Like the things that you love or want to pursue niche-wise or hobby-wise maybe will not align with your bank account or what is in your budget plan. So you might have to like pull back a bit or wait a bit. This could also be like, just because like this person did you a favor and you feel grateful to them doesn't mean that you have to like keep them around because you feel obligated to. You can feel grateful for someone and not feel like you owe them anything, and that's like a huge takeaway too with 8th house and 5th house themes. You're also maybe changing what you love and what you care about in the first place, changing your investments, changing who has access to you, who feels entitled to be able to access you. So like you could be asserting new boundaries or reshaping who your closer community is during this time. This is going to be hitting both your personal passions and what you love, as well as your finances. So there could be either conflict between the two, or you could try to find a new way to make them work together. But yeah, you could be reshaping what you love in order to better support your finances, or reshaping your finances to better support what you love. Either way, it's kind of like a conflict of interest occurs and you have to readjust this area accordingly. So yeah, hopefully that was helpful. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up, and I will see you in my next video.